What is going on, everybody?
What's
What's
happening,
up, B?
everybody? What's up, Rob?
Not a whole lot, man. Welcome to a special edition. No, it ain't Thursday. Y'all's clocks ain't wrong. Your calendars ain't wrong. It is Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, and we just got a special edition tonight with a guest that I am very excited to have on the show for real.
Me
Uh,
too. It's a legend.
I ain't lying. DNTV. Hello, it's Sherry.
Let me share.
Mr. Raymond G. in the Kentucky Division of PD. Let's do this. You got that right, brother. Mr. Nigel Porter. Hello, buddy. Joshua said, Yo, I shared. Thanks for that, man.
Appreciate it.
And Mama D. What's up, Miss Dorothy? He's telling Nigel hello. Let's see. Haunted Scotland. We are not alone. Jessica Duncan saying, Hey. Miss
Hello,
Donna
hello.
Guerin down in the Arizona Division of Global. Thanks for watching, dear. Cody M. Morgan from First Line Paranormal.
What's up,
That's
guys?
some boys right there. Y'all check out First Line Paranormal.
That's
Some
right.
really good stuff. The paranormal consultant, Mr. Matt Barron. What is up, brother?
What's up, Matt?
Mr. Brian Laverty. What is up, my friend? Hello from Georgia. What's going on in Georgia? I can't speak for B, but I'm doing great.
I'm doing very well. Just got back from the beach eating a lot of Krispy Kreme donuts.
And hello from PD Region Paranormal. What is up? He is awesomely loved. My interview the other day. Yeah, that's Miss Sherry. Barry was on her show. And hello from Mr. Drew. What's up, Drew Burt?
He's drinking some tea and eating some crumpets.
Yeah, eating some crumpets. But
I was picking at you, Drew. Sorry about that.
the guy we got tonight, man, he means a lot to me and Brian. He's in our eyes, he's one of the OGs of this profession. Especially when it comes to equipment and theories and the way he presents himself, the way he investigates. I can't say enough good things about him. What's going on, Mr. Robbie? I started the Drubert chant. What's up, Daryl Evans? But yeah, he's taught us a lot of stuff. Watching his shows, he's been on TV numerous of times, different shows, and for anybody who's followed him off of TV, he's still carrying on with what he believes in, and that is amazing. Mr. Paratech, what's up, Andy? But I ain't gonna make him wait. He's in the back. We've already had a little chance to chat with him, and I'm telling you, I can't wait for this show. But without any further ado, Brian, you want to introduce him?
We got Mr. Barry Fitzgerald.
What is up, Mr.
What's going
Barry?
on?
Hi, lads. Robert, Brian, thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No
Thank
problem,
you.
man. We thank you, brother. I tell you, it's like a dream. I told you earlier, and I don't know if you thought we were lying or not, but to us, you're OG, and we love what you do, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I humbly appreciate it. I really do.
And anybody out there that don't know who Barry is, move the rock out of the way so you can see. But Barry is a author of some really, really good books. Go to Amazon. All you got to do is type in Barry Fitzgerald. It'll pull up every one of them, and you can get them. Matter of fact, Brian, show the audience the newest one we just got. The Deception of Gods and Men. If you haven't read this book, we ain't through it yet, but we're getting into it really good, and it's already interesting, very interesting. So check out his book. And then he was original OG from Ghost Hunters International, part of TAPS. It's amazing. Raymond said, "Legends on the screen and in chat, all of you." Appreciate that, brother.
Thanks, sir.
And DNTV shouting out, "Hello, Barry."
You have a great line of supporters there. I've been following the notices coming up there, and they really are quite global, aren't they?
They are.
Yep.
We got them everywhere, man.
Fantastic.
That's what it's about, is networking.
Mm-hmm.
We push, breathe, and scream parafamily and network.
Great. Good stuff.
But yeah, so I guess the first question I'm gonna start is the biggest one I have for tonight. I'm gonna kick it off big, and that is, what is going on with Mr. Barry Fitzgerald right now?
Well, I've got two other books that I'm working on at the moment, and one just blows me away at the minute. The Fruit of the Gods, because initially where I was being led into this particular phenomena, I did not think that I was going to be circling from Ireland all the way back to Babylon. And it's that particular journey has it's just been a thrill ride the entire way. So I'm still working on that. I'm waiting on results coming back from laboratory tests and things like that, and working with archaeologists and strange phenomena that actually steered itself toward us to take this information and decipher it. It's been really bizarre, but what a journey. And my other book that I'm working on is the fourth edition to the Council of Three. It was the Council of Three was a fictional trilogy, but interjected with a lot of the research that I was finding in the field, but told through story. And there were various reasons as to why I did that, but this is the fourth edition to that particular story.
That's
And
awesome.
so I'm working on those two things. There's a filming project as well that we were just discussing today, and yeah, keeping busy. That's all I know to do, and certainly venturing across the Irish hilltops and down into the lakes that surround us here. It's rich. It is a rich body of mythology and folklore, which really has tested me to my extremes.
Yeah, I bet so. I tell you, when you get into the sides of it like you are, I mean, when we first came to know you, it was all we knew of was the paranormal side because
Mhm.
that's what we seen. But as I get to know you and learn more about you, I mean, you're into every single genre of the word paranormal.
Yeah, yeah. And that's that's an interesting point because within the latest book, The Deceptions of Gods and Men, that really looks at this fine thread that weaves its way through many of the fringe research fields,
Yeah,
and we find that there's a common factor in many of them, and possibly we've been inclined to create or designed to create this falsehood that this particular piece of phenomena deserves to be in its own pigeonhole, and this piece of phenomena deserves to be in its pigeonhole when actually they're combined, they're connected.
yeah,
And I think we have somewhat blinded ourselves by the pigeonholing to look at the bigger picture, and that's what I've done with the book, is to step away from that and look at the common factors which connect them all. And it's shocking, absolutely shocking, and
yeah,
then led us down an avenue which, my God, it really did take us on a very deep rabbit hole.
yeah. Well, this comment that I just pulled up here, this gentleman here, this is Mark Dawkins, and he says this is awesome. This guy here is part of PD Region Paranormal, our team, and he is the lead of Paratech.
Ah,
And he is the one that is helping me come up with this piece of equipment me and you were talking about
yes,
earlier.
yes.
So, Mark, if you're still watching, this man right here is working on the exact same thing we are. The exact same thing. So maybe we can talk and collaborate and get some really good info from this guy right here because he is very knowledgeable in this area. Because his favorite word so far is, like you, Mark, frequencies.
Frequencies, that's yes, the frequencies, that's where it's all hiding.
You got that right. And we've talked about it before on our podcast about, the ELF, ULF, and, if we could dial in closer to the other realm's frequency, then we don't have to work so hard. Maybe they don't have to work so hard. The closer you get, the less energy maybe it will take. And you see, Mark just commented, we are on the same page. Oh, Lord. Robbie says, DNTV, bringing the living and the dead of this world together. That is absolutely right. And that was Sherry saying hello under now she's back under her name.
How you, Sherry?
Matt Barron says, much love and respect for you all. And Sherry said, Barry is an awesome man, and so is Brian and Robert. Thank you, Sherry. We
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Touch my heart.
Matt said, "You all are on the same frequency." Sorry, couldn't resist. You got that right, Matt. But yeah, some of the stuff that you're working on versus what we're working on, and we didn't even know till tonight. We had no
Yeah.
clue. It just goes to show you how deep we're willing to dig into this.
Yeah, I have certainly found that that there are levels, layers, I suppose, of research that is going on globally, and along in the outer fringes, I don't see much happening in those particular areas, and but when you start to get deeper, it's amazing to see the commonality
Yeah,
between the thought processes of the people within the field and who are really dedicated to it. And there's a lot to learn. If we can work together, there is a lot to learn. And even our ancestors have left us thousands of years of documentation from their understanding and their dealings with this particular phenomena. And that is something that I feel that we shouldn't ignore. There's the richness of information there that within modern society we think, oh, well, we know it all. So in our short lifespan, we believe that in 40, 50 years, if I don't see it, it's not real. Well, that in itself is negating thousands of years of history and experience that has gone before you.
that's
And
right.
so we're so quick about ignoring that. And we have a lot to learn from our ancestors.
Yep. And
So we better,
everybody's in the comments saying got a lot of respect for y'all, wanting us to share out. You don't want to miss this show. Network, network, network. And that's what it's all about. Everybody's saying exactly. And Sherry said everybody in these networks are awesome. And what we're trying to do is build a network of like-minded people that's in it for the right reason. We're not in it to clout chase or make our name big or to have some fancy TV show on TV.
Yeah.
It's not about that for us. What it's about is, in Matt's, I'm gonna use Matt's phrase, and that is everything is about para-unity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
para-unity, like I said before, it's a word that you can't really talk about. You have to show it. You have to live it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like me and Brian, being co-founders of Parafam. What Parafam means to us is people like you and us being on the same page, being able to share information, work together, and just broaden our horizon and make the field bigger and help everybody along the way. Not,
Mhm.
oh, I done figured this out, I'm keeping this to myself because this is my ticket. It's not about that stuff.
No, no, that,
It's
that ain't
about
going to work. And in fact, what I tend to see is that unless we're diligent and watching the phenomena itself, and let's face it, good science starts with observation. So
amen.
we need to be we need to be cognizant of that and bring that into our investigations. We need to slow down from this quick reliance and deciphering, trying to decipher the phenomena by giving it a title. The titles themselves are just simply masks, and each of those titles have their own weight in imagery, and that can be problematic. Someone has a haunting in a house, a team will go in there and they'll use the word demon. Well, that in itself is a preloaded word which causes insurmountable trouble.
It does.
yep.
First of all, we need to observe the phenomena first. We need to understand it about what's happening, and who's in the house, and everything else, and the landscape. There's huge amount of phenomena to encounter within the landscapes. It's not just in buildings. Some of the most challenging encounters that we've had were outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was a case that we were working on. We were dealing with legend seekers. It was another book project, and we were investigating some of the mythology and folklore of the land. And we ended up at a site that had been closed because the phenomena there was that severe. It not only was able to disrupt technology on the site and create mechanical problems for machinery that was there. It also clubbed one of the guys that was working the table saw, clubbed him in the back of the neck. He fell forward and sawed off the four fingers. And then brought in dogs to try and they were still suspecting there has to be someone doing this. And they brought in dogs, German shepherds, and the energy at the site murdered the dogs.
What?
Good Lord.
It was so extreme. This was beyond anything that I had ever encountered in a house, in the four walls of a building. What we have out in the landscape is beyond anything else that I had ever encountered up until that period.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's something else. Hello, Miss Tila. Yeah, even Raymond saying, "Wow, that's some deep stuff."
Yep.
But you think about it, and what you said is dead on point. I mean, it's what me and Brian's been saying all along. The word demon shouldn't even be in the vocabulary.
No.
Because and the reason I say that is because that is everybody's first go-to when something happens.
Yeah.
And it's not always the case.
Well, if you look at the historical context of demon originates from daemon, the Greek version. The demons back in the Greek period were not as bad as what Christianity made them into what we know today.
Right.
Demons were seen as, they were almost like your guardian angel, almost, that whispered suggestions to you and guidance and knowledge. But of course, there was also the other side in which they could run you off the side of a cliff because you believed you could fly. So, you know, you have to take it all with a pinch of salt.
Exactly right. Hello, Mr. Dom. Just passing to show some support and spread the love. I'm glad you come by, Dom. We really appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate
Dom is
it.
actually a part of the Global Ghost Hunt with us.
Ah, very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
he's in the multimedia side with me. Great guy.
Fantastic.
But yeah, when I'm gonna ask you a question. Brian asked me this same question not too long ago, and I've said it on the podcast before, so I'm sure the audience is gonna know where I'm going with it. But I want your opinion on this. Brian came to me on an investigation we were doing one day, and it was really getting deep. We were catching really good evidence, and then it just stopped. I mean, it's like everything died instantly. You didn't catch nothing on from that point. And Brian asked me, he said, how do we know that they're not actually investigating for us? How do we know that they're not looking for us at the same time we're looking for them?
It sounds, from my experience and my own personal opinion, it sounds like you were getting too close. And when you get close and too close to the truth, the phenomena backs off immediately. And that's what it sounds like to me. It sounded like you were getting great information. I don't know what the information was coming back to you, but it sounds like you were, from your description, you were getting great input from the phenomena, and then it got to a certain point where we can't go any further, and it was shut off.
And we did get some really good answers.
It wasn't your decision.
Yeah, we really did get some really good answers that night. We were experimenting with the new equipment and the different frequencies. And I mean, we're running on 50 megahertz. Now, anybody that knows anything about frequencies, at 50 megahertz in the States, we don't have nothing analog anymore. Everything's digital. So down in 50 hertz, there's nothing broadcasting at 50 hertz, nothing. And we sitting there monitoring 50 hertz, and through the radio, we get the F word, 7 times in a row?
Yep.
Just, I mean, like F. And Brian looks at me like, you ain't gonna believe this. He was listening with live review and just a recorder. That was it. And it came through, and we replayed it, and we were like, what the world?
Yeah. There's some amazing techniques that can be adopted for the current technology that we have.
That's it.
And the spirit boxes are a perfect example. If the spirit box is able to link into headphones, that in itself is spectacular, because the headphones can be a sound. I forget what the terminology for it is. Sound blocking earphones. So the researcher will put them on. They'll wear eye covering so they can see nothing. They can't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the other sitters in the group will ask the questions, to which he replies from what he hears on the voice box.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see how that syncs up, and they're totally oblivious to what's being asked. The reactions that we've got through that has been phenomenal, really, because we've been able to contact directly to it, and the questions were coming back were the proper answers that were expected.
Yeah, and we've been practicing with that too, called the Estes method,
Mm-hmm.
and it really works. I mean, Brian, he's the one that gets blindfolded with live review, and he sits there and he calls it out. And not every question that we ask, because we don't even be in the room with him. We'll
Mm-hmm.
take a Zello radio, because the Zello radios will not interfere with your equipment. So if you're on
Mm-hmm.
investigation and you have to communicate, use the Zello walkie-talkie. They
Mm-hmm.
work off of internet, a satellite signal,
Yeah.
and you can key it up on top of a REM pod or EMF meter, and it will not set it off.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why we chose those radios.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll set the radio in there with Brian away from him, but where he can't hear it, but the room can.
Yeah.
And he's got noise canceling headphones with a blindfold mask on. And then we'll ask the questions outside the location. We're
Mm-hmm.
outside. We'll just ask over the radio, so the radio generates it into the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll just sit there and call out what he hears, and he'll explain to you what he's feeling too. You know,
Yeah.
just like the last time we did that, he felt something literally sit on his lap, like
Yeah.
a spirit just sit on him.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had really good results doing that.
Yeah. I'm involved with some experiments at the moment with groups within the British Isles, and that in itself is going to give us a real clear insight into what we're communicating with. I can't go into details at the moment because those experiments are still ongoing,
Right.
so I can't have that corrupted. But we'll talk again about those experiments and talk about the results that came from that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jonathan says, if you don't take the time to learn the history of where you were investigating, you will never understand any evidence you catch.
Exactly.
That's true.
He's right.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
Dom said he's about to start an investigation now. So good luck, Dom. I hope you catch some really good stuff, buddy. And Sherry is sharing out the links for Mr. Barry's books. Y'all please go check it out.
Thank you very much, Sherry.
And Mr. Robin over at Happen Paranormal in the UK. Hey, my brothers, what is up, Mr. Robin? And yeah, Raymond's on point too. He said Estes method. Miss Irene saying hello to everyone. Robert, send me a link if you can. I sure will. I got you, buddy.
I'm
I'll
working
take
on
care
it.
of that as soon as the show. Well, Brian's doing it now. Sorry.
So those radios, they must give great coverage. You know, if there's satellite,
I can sit here in North Carolina and talk to you on it at your home.
Now that is something that we can't get here.
And you can get the app on your telephone, which is Zello app, or you can actually purchase
I'm going to write this down.
the Zello radio, and this is it right here.
But I can run it on the phone on the
Yeah.
cell. Yeah.
Yeah, you can run it on the phone, and we use it on all live investigations.
Zello app. I must look into that. Interesting.
And Mr. Robin said, Mr. Barry Fitzgerald, where are you based?
I'm based on the west coast of Ireland. I am 5 minutes from the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm as far west as you can go, I suppose, in Europe.
Let's see. Dom said a cemetery from the 1700s. That's awesome. I hope you get some really good stuff. I can't wait to see it, man. Miss Irene said, in some cases, I don't want to know the history. And here in Japan, there is no way of finding anything about the place.
Yeah, Japan went through a really crazy time with the war, and there was a lot of destruction there. So I can see why those files and everything else would be destroyed. But then they have a different approach as well to spirituality and hauntings and stuff. It's not quite what we would see here. Fundamentally, we're looking at the same phenomena. It's just slight variations within it.
Robin says that he's originally from Belfast but lives in England now.
Good man himself.
Yep. And Brian just put the link for those radios in the chat for anybody that's interested in the Zello radios. They're all in the chat. So Dom, if you're interested in that radio, man, just click that link. They're on Amazon, and I think they're like 50 something bucks, and you can get a SIM card from any provider like T-Mobile or whatever, and have that SIM card activated just for data use only, and pop it in there, and it'll work anywhere you go. Or you can actually hook to the hotspot of your cell phone, which is what I do, and I just run it off a Wi-Fi and hotspot.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And
the technology
I'm from Bristol.
is fantastic.
I think that's Drew over there on DNTV. He said I'm from Bristol.
The most expensive city in the UK, I believe.
That's what he told me too. He said the exact words. Raymond said, "Yep, let's add Barry's books to my collection. Girlfriend already wants to choke me." Matt said, "I like that concept. It works, Matt. I mean, when you're doing a live investigation and you see a REM pod going off, and if you're not paying attention, somebody could be upstairs communicating to somebody outside on their walkie-talkie, setting your REM pod off. So by using these radios right here, that's what me and Brian's done. We've eliminated that.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it. And to test it, I mean, I put my REM pod right in front of my hand and keyed this radio up numerous of times, and it will not affect that REM pod. You put it beside an EMF detector, it might go up 0.1 milligauss, and that's it. Let's see. Think Drew wants to come up. Yeah, Drew's about to have a fit to meet Barry, ain't he?
Yep.
Sherry said they put message on page. Dom said, "Much thanks for the link. I will be on it after the investigation." Yeah, check it out. And for the ones that don't want to buy the radio, like I said, you can use the app on your phone, but you got to pay close attention if you're using the app, because your phone itself will make your equipment go off. Even if you're not running that app, your phone will set off your K2 meters and your stuff like that. So be very cautious whenever you're using a cell phone, period, on an investigation. The less stuff that you got to worry about interfering with your evidence is the less you got to worry about in general. And DNTV said, "I used to live in Wales." That's Drew.
Oh, Wales is a very, very rich place. There's a lot of magnetic anomalies in Wales, which I think is adding to the phenomena there. They still have a lot of UFO activity, mutilations, cattle mutilations, and things like that.
And Mark said if Barry had the Zello, he could actually monitor our investigations and possibly share his knowledge with us live. He's absolutely correct. We could add you into our talk group, and you could sit there and communicate to us from your home and watch our lives on stream, because usually we stream our investigations. So you'll be able to watch and sit there and communicate with us and tell us what you think about what happens. So it's kind of like being part of the team without even having to be there.
Yeah.
It works great.
I am going to look into that and see how it fares out for us. A lot of that technology we can't get, and stuff like that. But that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Amazon will get it to you.
Failing that, we'll go back to the cups and the string. That's always worked.
Yeah. We've done that before. I remember whenever we first started, me and Brian, we've been doing this for almost 28 years now. So when we first started, we had a guy that was just positioned to do that. Yeah. Hey, go find Brian and tell Brian such and such, and he's gone. That was our phone. Raymond said, "That's why I like my static dome. The only piece of equipment I have seen it set off is a GoPro." I got to do some research on them static domes. I've never used one. I've had some people ask me about building them, but I got to get my research done on. Have you ever used one, Barry? You know what he's talking about?
I think I remember seeing one being used some time ago. Now I'm looking at about a decade ago at the investigation, and nothing seemed to be coming from it. So I'd seen it. I think it was used on location 3 or 4 times, and I thought, okay, I'm done with this, and moved on. I found that a lot of the technology especially from a modern sense, we've got a lot of flashy bells and whistles, and I think that in itself may cause some interference with the investigation, because as being an investigator, you're being locked into your conscious side of your brain, so you're constantly monitoring the equipment,
Right.
and you're not listening to your instinct, which is one of our greatest pieces of equipment,
That's
is our
it.
own instinct, and too much equipment can interfere with that. I find so. I liked personally myself. I like to back away from too much equipment, and generally let the equipment do what it's designed to do, and let me go and do what I'm designed to do, and then pull everything together at the end.
We got a good question here from Matt Barron. Matt said, I get asked this question a lot. Now, if you don't mind, my brothers, Barry, which is a question for you, you've investigated all over, and I was wondering, do the different cultures require different styles of investigating?
Yeah, you have to be very cognizant of how they approach the idea of spirit. Some just don't believe it at all. Where some others will, like in the Middle East, for instance, the world of ghosts is completely mocked. But if you speak of a jinn is believed because it's mentioned in the Quran. So that's a different aspect altogether. Now, again, with the book of the Deceptions of Gods and Men, I show that there is a common factor there between a lot of the ufology encounters that people are having. Cross-reference that with what we tended to see here in Northern Europe within the fairy traditions. 200 years ago, the jinn, they're all common factors within the great spectrum of things. So you have to be, yeah, yes, you have to be respectful at times of various different cultures and their approach. Ancestral worship is still big in a lot of places around the world. So, and I certainly is one of those advocates of that particular type of worship as well. So, I have no issue with it. So yeah, you just got to be careful of any sensitivities that you may encounter, and just make a few inquiries before you begin in various different parts of the world.
Well, Ken Allen says, sometimes I will use an old analog portable battery powered television.
Mm.
And
I
then he
think
said,
that success that was very successful within the UK during from 1995, I believe. There was a 5-year period in which the Skull experiment run, and it was an amazing investigation into the old mediumistic style seance room. And so this was over a 5-year period, and it got such good write-ups that suddenly science wanted to be involved, and there were reputable scientists who were being wanting entry into the seance room. And whenever they get in there, they started seeing and encountering things that they completely didn't expect to encounter. Now, what we're talking about now are arms that would materialize in the seance room, completely solid, from the fingers all the way down to the elbow.
hmm,
And after that, there's nothing. So they can feel the hand on their shoulder, and they're going, oh, 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 and then they get to the elbow, and there's nothing after that. Uh,
wow.
but along with that, they were also using a monitor on TV, or sorry, a camera and monitor. And on the monitor, and this is something that I touch in again in the book. On the monitor appeared this blue entity, and it was the hue that was in the monitor that created this color, and the entity became known as blue. But actually, what we were looking at was a gray alien. Now, what is an alien doing in a seance room?
Really?
Only that, but it didn't end there, because there were small UFOs that appeared during the sittings that were so small and they used to fly in through the table and everything else. There was ufology, there was UFOs that were appearing, there was a whole mixture of phenomena that was appearing within the seance room that normally we thought, well, this is all separate. No, it's not. It's all connected. And again, they were able to see this shimmering doorway, portal, if you like, where these things were coming through.
Wow, that's awesome. Mark's got a question for you, Barry. He said, "Do you pay attention to weather conditions such as temperatures and barometric pressures and such?"
Yes, the barometric pressure was one that I followed for a long time, and I used to have a watch specifically designed that it would alarm if it went off. But it got to such a stage where physically I knew when the barometric pressure had dropped. And there were certain entities that were able to drop the barometric pressure. And usually within a 20-minute period, the barometric pressure would lower. And you feel that in the solar plexus. And it's a very strange sensation, almost like a draining sensation. And that in itself had an effect, a direct effect on your circulatory system, your immune system, your circulatory system. And if it continued, it had the chance and the risk, we've seen that in Paris as well, that it had the risk of actually driving you into total circulatory collapse.
Wow.
So you died of a heart attack. There were warnings. There were warnings above the door whenever we went into this place. Anyone with a heart complaint, please do not enter. And we thought, why do they have that? And we started rubbing the entity up the wrong way, that it became apparent. And I realized, I recognized the feeling straight away, and I said, we've got 20 minutes to get out of here. And we started hightailing it out.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would have too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Mark is, I love having him on the team because he's one of these guys till he's really never had a paranormal experience, so to say, but he's had experience with the UFO side of everything.
Yeah.
And that leads him into the equipment part because he wants to build this equipment that can challenge every aspect of the paranormal field, whether it's paranormal or UFO or whatever. You know, he's really into that, and he does an amazing job.
The problem that I've found, I did find a solution for it, but the problem that I found is that when you're trying to outsmart the phenomenon, it always knows. And you say to yourself, well, I'm going to hide the camera here. I'm going to put a sensor over that side and hide it out of the way. It knew. It always seemed to know, and stayed away from those particular locations. But there's a particular process that I discovered, and I use that where I can block that out and get results from that. And it's got to the point where, like Mark, I've had my experiences as well within the UFO encounters. I've had my own personal experiences with it, and by breaking those experiences down, I'm able to see and understand the phenomena and how that operates. And likewise, I've had my experiences with the incubus phenomena. I've been able to break that down and see what was happening. I've had the experiences within the fairy realm and broke that down, and also seen weaknesses that the phenomena has that normally it tries to keep away from the mainstream. And it was a it's been an interesting 30 plus years of discovery.
I bet so. Irene said that she lived in a haunted condo for 20 years and there was no way of finding the history of the property. And it was a suicide condo. No, we had to move because we all got sick. We couldn't close the portals or cleanse the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be problematic. It may actually have been a problem with the land rather than the condo.
That's it. Sherry said she agreed and hope you all are well. We hope you are well as well. And then let's see, Sherry is sharing some links for us. Thank you so much. And got a question here from Mr. Jonathan. Do you feel like ghost hunting TV shows has helped or hurt the paranormal field? I feel like it has helped make it more popular, but has hurt when TV shows have to have evidence to keep them on TV and would start faking evidence. I loved Most Haunted Live until I found out it was faked.
Yeah, Most Haunted certainly had its reputation. But I think TV shows had, yes, it did make it popular. And shows such as Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International really did pave the way forward there.
It did.
Um, but I looking at it now, looking the way the field has gone, a lot of it now is driven by this need for, as they said, to give evidence, to try and prove something. But I always found, and it was always something that we stuck true to in Ghost Hunters International. If we didn't find anything, we reported that, and that's the way it was. And we didn't step over that particular line. We were often asked, did you find that you were being pressured by the production team? And far from it. If anything, during the day, whenever we were filming the day shots, the driving, the interviews, and everything else, that was very much to the demand of the production team. So we were there, and that's what we were there to do. So we did that. But during the investigation, the production team switched gears, and they were there under us, our guidance. So they would come to us, and specifically they would come to me and they would say, "Do we think that there's more in this location, or do we finish now?" And I would tell them, "No, I think it's dead," or "No, we've got some more things to try." And there were locations there, and I will openly admit, like there was one particular castle, Orava, I think it was in Slovakia, and that place is where they filmed Nosferatu, the old bucktooth vampire with the two pointed ears, the black.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, in the older section and the mid section of that castle, it was in three portions. That creeped me the hell out. And we were finishing our interviews in the third session, and they said, "Okay, we're done now, Barry. You can go and get your equipment." And I says, "Oh hell no. Oh hell no." I'm waiting until everyone else is done and we're all going to get the equipment.
That's one thing I loved about Ghost Hunters International. Y'all are one of the only TV shows that I ever watched that actually went into a location and walked out with no evidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are one of the only teams I've ever seen to do that. Most networks would have said, "No, we're not gonna put that out there because y'all didn't catch anything," but y'all did.
No, we called it. And in fact, there were places that we went to. I can remember one location, and let's face it, the TV show is not made cheaply. It's a very expensive thing to make, and they flew us all out to Singapore, where we were going to investigate the old Ford factory. And we were all looking forward to it until we arrived in Singapore and found out that the Ford factory had been knocked down some time ago.
Oh Lord.
We got a free holiday out of it.
Oh Lord. Let's see, Amanda. Hi, I'm from the UK. We got a latch on, and this thing came with a photo frame. We had to get cleansing. It came back tenfold. Got help back in 2 years clear. We were terrified. The noise, banging doors all night, up and down the stairs, faucets running, things being thrown. My dog refused to enter the house. She was terrified. Final straw, she winded me up a ladder upstairs, and I fell down these stairs trying to get out. Then she leaned over my granddaughter, then 6 in the bath. She was terrified. Wow.
I think I would have burned that photo frame.
I ain't lying. It'd have been gone. Dom said, Jonathan, on a side note, on that sometimes it's not even the team. Sometimes it's the producers and TV stations that ask for that stuff. And that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I have been told that some certain TV stations, I ain't gonna say producers, some TV stations require some things to be etched a little bit.
Yeah. It now it's got to a stage though where it's quite plainly obvious. That's being done for entertainment, and you just have to take it with a pinch of salt nowadays and roll on.
Yep.
I don't really watch them, those particular shows. I've got too much of the real stuff going on around me.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Jonathan said, I believe that sometimes when people think they are dealing with paranormal, they might actually be dealing with extraterrestrial activity.
And that's a very interesting point there, Jonathan, because a lot of the phenomena that I had indicated before, lads, there was a common thread that run through it all. And this common vector would suggest that the extraterrestrial mask is just that. That this phenomena is originating from the same source. It's how it's being perceived. It's how it wishes to be perceived, and that's where the water is very muddy. So there is a phenomenon out there that is exceptionally deceptive, and that is something that I drive within my work for us to work at and really work hard at really finding out what's behind, who's the magician behind the curtain.
That's right. Matt Barron's got a question for you, Barry. He said, what is your best advice for new investigators, and what advice would you give to the community as a whole?
Okay, well, the first thing that I would advise is that as an investigator, you are the paranormal first aider. So if you're called into a house, you're being called in there because the house is in distress, the family are in distress, so therefore you are a paranormal first aider. Be aware that in times of war, who gives the first aider first aid? If you don't look after yourself, you're going to fail. So we have to be right going into these situations, and we have to look after our own health from that particular perspective. So the likes of making sure that your gut health is good, is very, very important. Understand the threats that can come from attachments, because there are times, and it happens to the best of us, we can bring stuff home. So it's about defending yourself against those, how to recognize those, and how to get rid of them. And that's something I spoke about in my book that I wrote back in 2012, The Influence. It looks at how our biology is manipulated during an attachment, and what it hopes to do, and how we can turn that around, to get us back onto some sort of a level. So make sure that you as a first aider are looking after yourself first of all before you start tackling anything else.
I couldn't have said that any
100%.
better. I couldn't have said it no better. Dom said, I'm talking in the case and calls here in Canada. He had a TV contract and they wanted him to do that, so he canceled the contract. And that's good for you, Dom.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yeah, I would have done it too, bro. Let's see. Ken said it was the land. I think he's referring to Irene's situation.
Yeah. There's a lot that comes from the land that is overlooked.
Sherry said they're so real. I respect that team. Love the programs. Dom said I have all the TV show of Ghost Hunters Internationals and regular shows. He's got all your shows, brother. Sherry said Barry is the best in my view, definitely, and the guys on these networks, but to the TV wise, he's the best one I trust fully. I agree. I agree
Exactly.
100%.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan said, was Steve really afraid to fly, or was that just part of the show? I felt like it was real tears first time he flew international.
He actually didn't fly, and that's why I ended up having to go in front of the camera, because initially they were coming to Ireland. They needed someone just to arrange Lep Kessel and things like that, and so I was contacted through associates of mine in Washington D.C. and they came across, and I met them at the castle. Everything was great, and Steve wasn't there, and I was told that Steve couldn't fly, and would I mind going in front of the camera Now, it never crossed my mind up until that particular point, and I thought, well, okay, if I have to, and that was that. It went out, the show aired, and it was one of the highest rated shows in the show's history. And within several months, then I got a phone call from LA, and they said, Barry, we're really wanting to develop an international show, and would you consider being part of it? So I gave it all of about 3 seconds and went, well, yeah, why not? And that was that. So I was one of the ones that didn't have to go through all that nonsense of screeners and everything else. They already knew what I could do, and that was it. I was away.
That's awesome. Amanda said, I knew it was there, and for a while my family thought I was nuts, and for most of us, the show makes me cringe. And as for the most haunted show, that show makes me cringe.
There used to be a lady on the show. I think her name was Marcel, and she was a makeup lady. And Marcel used to have me in fits because whenever she either I don't know if she was playing the part or whether she was truly frightened, but she always used to hyperventilate. I used to go into spirit whenever she was doing that. Poor Marcel. I wonder what she's doing now.
Yeah. Jonathan said, please watch the Two-Face the Gray by Chad Kalick. I think you are awesome that could appreciate that documentary.
I'll actually write that down. Two-Face the Grey. Okay.
No, I actually watched that. It's actually pretty good.
By Chad Kalick. Okay.
And Amanda said, very true. We were going through a serious family trauma, and this thing fed off of it. And it will. I've noticed in our years of this stuff with me and Brian doing what we do, acknowledgement is power to them. And the more you feed into it, the stronger they're going to get.
Very much so. And this the same with poltergeist phenomena. When you stop being afraid of it, it's amazing how quickly the phenomena comes to an end.
That's
when
exactly
you
right.
Power.
It's all a big power struggle, and if you get the power, you have the control.
But a lot of this phenomena a lot of the phenomena is driven behind fear. The likes of the incubus attacks that attacks at night. It's fear. It's fear based, and that's something that we really should recognize. But there is a solution to those particular things, because when we go back, and like I said before, these common factors that join a lot of it together, the iron is the key for the safety, and from that particular perspective, we see that iron was used against the Fae. It is exceptionally powerful against the jinn. And from my own personal experience, I got to see that the Greys don't like it either. They're terrified of it. So are we looking at the same phenomena here, just a different mask? And for the incubus and succubus, 9 times out of 10, they will attack women more so than men, because when the women go into their monthly cycle, they tend to become anemic. They're low on iron. That's when they attack. Right. So again, we're looking at this aspect, this very ancient aspect of iron. So an iron amulet around the neck is absolutely exceptional. It really does wonders for anyone going out into the field.
That's good to know, ain't it, Brian?
Yes, it is.
Shannon said, yes, fear puts off so much strong energy. Then we got another question here from Mr. Mark. He says, Barry, do you believe in ESP?
Oh, absolutely. I think though that a lot of the psychic phenomena that we tend to see, and what we can do, like remote viewing and things like that, and ESP, are all aspects of our soul. I truly think that that's a signature of our soul, our personal soul. Its ability to project to various different locations, and remote viewing has been very successful. I know there's been a lot of bad raps for it, but I do follow it. I see its benefits. and understand that this is a projection of us. It's not anything else. And the likes of dowsing rods. Dowsing rods work, but they're not. The power isn't in the dowsing rods. The power is coming through us. It's how the information is being fed through the soul and manifests through the body, and we get slight adjustments within the body, which then moves the rods. That's our information. That's how that information is being processed. It's not in the rods itself. It's through us.
Sherry said it's in us, and we make the tools work.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Miss Shannon said, I agree, Barry. I've always said this. It's also the reason cells have iron bars to contain negative energy.
Mm. You'll find a lot of the old churches and things like that are surrounded by iron. And a lot of the old graveyards are surrounded by iron bars.
Yep. We had a case not too long ago, an attachment case, and they thinking the attachment came from this gentleman went to a graveyard, and he was messing around this family grave site that was all in ironclad. And he opened the gate, went in there and tried to communicate, and walked out and did not close the gate. And he thinks that's where the attachment came from.
Yeah, it can be very problematic. That's for sure. But there was a case that I was following, and it was a UFO case. Or sorry, not a UFO case. It was a fairy case in Ireland, and it was at the turn of the 20th century. The farmer had put his cattle to bed. The cow had just delivered its calf, so everything worked out perfectly. It was great, and he put them into the barn, and he went to bed. The next morning he got up, and the mother was sliced and diced. She had gone through that mutilation phenomena, which the Fae are known to do, along with our UFO friends as well. And his only regret was that he didn't put iron over the barn doors to keep the Fae away. Because for a long time we've known here in the island that the Fae do the slice and dice. And it's the same phenomena that we see in modern day ufology.
Ken just put this up. He said, he is absolutely correct. As an occultist, iron daggers, for example, is a powerful way to banish negative energies. I recommend that only someone who is experienced in the occult arts to use daggers of iron for banished.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm still trying to find out why. What is it about iron that does this? And I think what we're looking at, again, back to what we indicated before, we're looking at frequencies, because as a body itself, we do produce a frequency. Yeah. But when the iron is not there, or when the iron is reduced, our frequency lowers. So when the iron is introduced to a magnetic field, it boosts the magnetic field. So it makes our field stronger. So I'm thinking there may be something in this as to why the iron is successful.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a comment here from Jonathan. He says, Barry, do you enjoy the music from Celtic women as much as I do? I love Irish music, and they are the best to me. I've always wanted to go to Ireland to see a show at one of their castle shows. Sorry, I know it's not a paranormal question, laughing out loud.
I can't say that I am a supporter of Celtic women, but I have friends there that play music. Lee Rogers up there from the north of Ireland is exceptional, and he's just actually back from the US from doing an American tour, and he's very, very good. And I would highly recommend that folks pop onto Spotify or iTunes or whatever it's called, and have a listen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Global United Paranormal Foundation, hello PD, sending love to y'all and Barry.
Thank you.
And Shannon said, I've helped capture a few spree killers through remote viewing. It's still not comfortable. I'm still not comfortable with it.
It can be a lot to take in. And in fact, I do know of there's another phenomenon within the remote viewing in which there is a group of people who are able to keep the secrets hidden from normal remote viewers within that particular world. And that's a very top level ability, and that's a worrying aspect, that they're able to hide the secrets away from others.
What you talking about, Raymond? Don't tell me we done got something else. Last podcast we did, we captured paranormal activity in our podcast, female's voice, and there was no females on. Now Raymond's saying that anyone else hear that. What we missing, Raymond? And Shannon said, "Are the Fae also talking all the soft tissue?"
Yes, they are. They do.
Jonathan said, "Let you know he's going to check them out too." About the music. Sherry telling Global hello, and we got a long one here. Ed and Lorraine Warren opened up the gates, and total administration, I guess that's supposed to be admire to them. Shame on the negative that causes havoc for people seeking help. I was lucky. Apparently, I'm open. I was away the weekend when it terrified my granddaughter. Got my own place, and they fled in terror. Came to me in early hours and stayed second cleansing. They never went back, and I have my daughter and grandkids rehomed, and they are happy and settled now.
There can be an issue there where these energies can see us, and that particular book that I mentioned earlier, The Influence. When I began writing that book, I was given a message which went into the book, and it said, "Don't become too bright, or you see us." Or sorry, don't become too bright, or they see you. And I thought, now what is that referring to exactly? There was no more confirmation than that. But years later, I ended up speaking to the guys who were part of a global experiment in which EVP questions were asked right around the world, and the same question kept coming back. They asked, "How do you see us?" And it kept coming back as light.
Wow.
So when we get too bright, they see us. And you know, in nature, we often see that bright lights attract eyes. And you know, I am definitely one for, you know, for using my own abilities and finding information from locations that normal means just doesn't deliver. But when I go into a site, I know to if I need to open that door up and do what I'm doing, but I also know that I close that back down again.
That's right.
And go dark again.
Yep. Raymond said there was some static interference a couple of minutes ago whenever Robert was talking.
I hear it.
I guess that's why they call it paranormal static.
That's right.
Sherry said, "Love these guys too." And Mr. Matt Barron here said, "I got to get going. Much love to PD Region and everyone else. And Barry, if you don't mind, I would love to connect with you."
Yeah, by all means, I'm on Facebook. Reach out to me there, yeah.
And we got a gentleman in back who's eating his toenails up to meet Barry. Shannon said, "Why do you think the Fae are taking soft tissue?"
It's about the immune system. And we suspect that either we're going to have a problem with the immune system, well, look at the environment we're in at the minute, or they're having a problem with the immune system. See, that particular what I was seeing over the course of time is that when certain manifestations occur in this realm, they have to obey to certain rules while here. And I think that's having an issue, and it has been for some time. But these particular things, a lot of these things are coming through the stone. They're coming through stone plateaus, stone cliffs, cave systems. And we tend to find a lot of them coming through there. And from an Irish perspective, we have passage chambers here that are built that predate the Great Pyramids of Giza. They're huge stone complexes. And the likes of the Banshee, which is a very famous entity here in Ireland, who cries and wails as death approaches. The very name itself reflects back to those stone structures. Banshee in Irish translates into woman of the she, and the she in modern Irish would tend to indicate that it's in reference to the fairy, but that's not actually the case. The she are the stone structures, so it's woman of the a woman of the mounds. So they're people of the mounds. So these things are coming through the stone to here. And if you look at your guy there in the States, oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name, David Paulides. David has written fantastic books there, Missing 411, and on strange disappearances of people in the national parks and things like that in the US. And he has even suggested that a huge majority of people that disappear in boulder fields. So what is it about the rocks? And when we go back and we look at particular namesakes that describe these particular beings, we can see that within history as well. And you've got this creature in the UK, for instance, which translates into Middle French and then into German, which is Kobe. And that in itself is in reference to a hole in stone. So we're getting back to stone again. What is it about the stone that these things need to come through? And UFOs we see flying directly into cliff faces at full speed into mountains. How are they doing this?
Yeah.
What about the stone that seems to allow these things to come through?
Yeah. Alex said, I also heard that interference, Raymond. Well, if Alex is watching, I know it'll get debunked eventually. So do your thing, Alex. He's the debunk king. Jonathan said, are you done with the U.S. or will there ever be a time and place that I can meet you? Robert knows how excited I was when he said you were going to be on the show. I told you, man, everybody loves you over here.
I really am hoping to be back in the US. It's a fabulous country, and it has a remarkable landscape that I think is rich in itself. You know, and people say to me, our history goes back thousands of years. Well, so does yours. And it's granted, it's a history there that a lot of it is lost, unfortunately, but it's just waiting there to be found.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful history with the land.
Shannon said, in America, we don't have so many fae. Maybe
Oh,
a few
you do.
stowaways.
Oh, you do. A lot of the native, the not of the native cultures there speak of them often, and I've had my own encounters with them in just outside Washington.
Yeah. Mark said, light is part of the spectrum that goes all the way back, that goes back to frequency. The great architect of the universe said, I am the light of the world.
There you go. That's very true.
Sherry says, vibration and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And Shannon said, I'm finding in the U.S. forests have many portals.
Yeah, I did come across a particular forest official in the US who did have an encounter with one of the portals. He described it as like a rippling surface, like a rippling surface of water, though it was upright. And it just seemed to this unusual ripple that we tend to see in the likes of the TV shows Stargate and stuff like that.
Right.
But he put his foot into the rippling, and suddenly his instinct cut in, and his fight or flight was activated, and that in itself is his soul telling him, "Get the hell out of here," and he left immediately. And you know, I've spoke to others who have come across the very same thing. In fact, I'm aware of a couple of native children who were walking along. It was a desert trek, and beside one of the rock faces, they heard singing coming out of the rocks, and one of the children went closer to it and seen the rippling effect, but the voice was calling the child in, and the instinct of the child went, "Oh no, I'm gone," and left, thankfully. But it's amazing to see what's really going on, you know.
Yeah. Shannon said that I'm Cherokee Indian and my elders don't talk so much of Fae, but skinwalkers, look out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she said, yes, like plasma, Barry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Alex said, that's interesting. Very credible sources like Forestry Service officials. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond said, Tesla believed fully in energy and frequency. Einstein also spoke about energy. Then if we got into quantum mechanics. That's right. Well, I'm going to bring in Mr. Drew. He is the founder and director of DNTV. And he just wanted to pop in and he wanted to introduce himself and meet you. He's a big fan, just like we are. And he's a great guy. So welcome in, Drew. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. You're muted. You're muted.
There we go, Drew. Now we can hear you.
What a mistake. Again. Back live. I've done this all.
Drew Burt. Cody said Drew Burt.
What's up, brother? Anyway, Brian, sorry about that, mate. It is a pleasure to meet the Superman and the great legend. Barry, you're such a brilliant guy for what you've done. And your books are links out. New word, guys. Links out. I'll pull that in the diary like a very good dictionary. Coming on in. And I hope you're enjoying yourself, and I hope these boys are looking after you.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
They beat me up. They offered to beat me up, you know. They told me
Tila says, hey, Drew.
Hi, wife.
And then Raymond says, Drew, look at that handsome face.
They're like picking on me with a handsome face. How far I got a scary face here.
And we got a big one here. Let's see if we can get through this one. If this makes sense, all of my life suffered sleep paralysis, and they have always terrified me. Couldn't move, shout to me as a child, last forever. My parents shrugged it as bad dreams. You don't talk about these things here. You try to, as a child, forget it. Mm-hmm. Since all of this, I pick up on things. Flashy shadows, certain places, usually uneasy. 18 months after this, my only sibling, older sister, she was my rock. My dog woke me up going nuts. There was nothing there. We settled. My dog kicked off again, turned my lamp on, and my sister I think it wouldn't let her type no more after that.
Mm-hmm. It's a horrifying experience. It really is. And, you know, it's something that I experienced, but through my experiences, I was able to break that phenomena down and understand it and look for its weaknesses.
Yeah. Shannon said, oh my God, thank goodness for you guys. This has been a great show. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. And like I said, if you enjoyed this show, give us a thumbs up and please go order Barry's books. If you like what he's saying on the show, you can really get more in depth of what he's talking about by reading his books.
Wife, where's my mobile so we can make sure everyone's going to order the books?
Global United, my brother Drew, what's up? Watch the mutes, brother. And Sherry throwing the links out there for DNTV. Thank you for that. Melissa, she said 4 handsome faces.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And Rick Horton, hello everyone from Pops. Now Pops is the senior investigator for PD, so he's one of us.
Hey Pops.
And we Melissa waving, and Shannon said that was a cliffhanger. And I want to take a minute, Brian. I want to shout out the people who's allowing us to stream tonight. Number one, Drew, thank you. Thank DNTV for everything they do for us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, go check out DNTV. Awesome place to advertise, and it's not just paranormal. You can stream anything. The word entertainment don't mean paranormal. So check out DNTV and also check out Parapost Network. They got an app out there. It's awesome. You can download the app, parapost.net. if you don't want the app, or you can hit Parapost Network Central on Facebook. Great streaming all the time. Lots of great people stream there. And shout out to Ghost Energy and one of our biggest sponsors, Fred Chanel over at Iron Beam. Thank y'all for everything y'all doing over there at IBC. Y'all keep us up for late nights like this, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amanda commented, she said, at the end of my bed, as fast as she was there, she was gone. And I think she was letting me know that she's gone, but I'm there for you. I wasn't scared, but boy, did I cry. So, yeah, that was the end of her statement a while ago. And Global says Parafam all the way, 100%. That's right. It's all about Parafam. But
all the way.
Drew, I really enjoyed tonight's show with Mr. Barry. He's enlightened us on a lot of subjects that some people just don't want to talk about, or they're scared to talk about it. Me, myself, I'm not knowledgeable enough to talk about some of it, but that's why I do my research. And, Barry answered a question for Matt that I want to talk about for a second, about what he would say to a new or upcoming investigator, or best advice. And what he said definitely hit home. And I'm not going to go into it, and I'm definitely not going to make him repeat it. But if you didn't hear him, watch the rest of the show, because I'm telling you, it's the honest God truth. You are a first aider, and your first aider that you're going to be taking care of is yourself. We often on this show ask people, what is your favorite piece of equipment? But I don't even have to ask Barry that, because I already know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be himself.
Yeah, very much so.
And definitely Parafam and a puppy. Raymond said, thank you so much, Barry. Awesome show, guys.
You're very welcome.
Melissa showing us some spookies.
I like a bit of spookies.
Shannon said, very knowledgeable, and he is. I mean, that's why we look up to him. He's
yeah,
one of the few people in the field that I can honestly say that I look up to. He's like a hero.
The godfather of the paranormal.
Well, always trust yourself and look after yourself. Exactly right.
I just call him Superman. He's one man, Iron Man.
Isn't Iron Man dead now?
Sherry said, we are the best tool. And Fab from UK.
Hey, don't call him a tool. That's bad.
And Global's wanting to know part 2 coming with Barry. I'm pretty sure they will be, because there's so much you can't get it in an hour and a half. But Jonathan said, I had a dream once that became real. It was a dream where I was driving through fog. Then the fog turned into a shape of a person. And as soon as I went through the fog, I woke up to not being able to move, and a woman talking into my ear, but I couldn't understand her. I couldn't talk for a minute, but I could see everything going on around me. Once I could talk, I said, God help me, and she went away. What could it be?
That in itself has some of the key signatures of the incubus succubus. Whenever they do move forward to that individual. But the fact that he was dreaming it is different. That in itself suggests that it possibly was sleep paralysis, and that's probably what I would tend to go with. Would be second choice at that particular instance, because a lot of people would say that all of the incubus and succubus attacks are sleep paralysis. But I have accounts on my files of people who have been asleep and watched and woke up and watched the entity brace their partner in the bed. And the partner is fighting to get released from it. And they're watching perfectly still. They're watching what's going on. So this is a secondary person watching the effect of this entity on one of the individuals. Now, the moment that they move, then the entity's aware they're awake, and they will hightail it out of there. It's interesting to see that there are differences that science is not willing to accept, and rather paint it all with the same brush. It's all sleep paralysis. It's not all sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Shannon said, I'm an amputee because of an attachment. They are very real.
Yeah. Attachments are, and they can be troublesome.
Melissa said sleep paralysis. Dealt with it for years. Extremely frightening.
Oh, it is. Yeah, sleep paralysis is. Yeah.
Sherry says, I'm going to have a show where I get Barry and you guys up and the Bald and Bonkers and just have a chat and answer question show. I mentioned this the other day on mine and his show. And sleep paralysis sounds like you're exactly right, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, my first experience with sleep paralysis, sometimes I'm convinced it was real. It followed me home. Yeah.
It's as I say, it's the best of us can bring things home, and they can be troublesome. I was one of my most challenging sites was the Island of the Dead here in Ireland, and it was that frightening that I said to my co-author, I said, if we ever experience that again, I'm done. I don't want to experience that again. It was so extreme. But there was something came back from there, and it blatantly stood in the hallway of the house and watched myself and my wife in the living room, and we were watching it in the reflection of the door before it finally hightailed it out of there. It never came back.
Yeah. Amanda said I would never open my eyes and still want to this day. And Shannon said it was a mist and a succubus because you were able to pray and it released you. Yeah, so
I love to talk about the succubus and incubus.
yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, Eldon said Brian's at home, bro. Eldon's at the control. That's our brother Eldon. Hey, Eldon, I'm gonna send you a link whenever I end the show. I want you to step in for just a minute. I wanna introduce you to Barry, and I got something I want to tell you. And then Sherry said, don't forget to look up DNTV. Drew has some amazing guests, and he does. Drew's actually put me on to a lot of guests for Paranormal Static as well. So anybody that's in the podcast field, link up with Drew because he can really help you out. Well, Brian, any questions for you tonight, brother? I know
he answered every one of them before I had to ask him. So hey,
that's the same way it was with me. I asked the first question and he took over and rolled with it.
That's what it's all about. It's all about him, not us.
That's what I wanted. Melissa said I was at my boyfriend's on the way home. It was kicking the back of my seat. My mom and brother saw it a week later.
Brian, the donuts you mentioned, you owe me donuts. You got me jealous, so I actually ran to the shop, but the shop was closed.
Oh Lord.
Raymond said, what are your thoughts on lucid dreaming and astral projection?
Lucid dreaming is great. It's a great talent to have. Astral projection is also very good, but there are warnings that come with the likes of Robert Monroe, who was a prolific OBE experiencer, out of body experiencer, and he could astral project on demand, and in fact he did so in laboratory conditions. So we learned a lot from his work, but Robert spoke of this dimension that was close to us, where this blackness, this dark void existed. And within the dark void, he reported that there were creatures of animalistic nature, but were intelligent enough to work on their own. That the problem being is that when you have astral projection joyriders that are coming back through this area, they're bringing those things with them. They can attract those shadows back to here, which creates problems. So there are things that we need to be concerned about, and we need to watch and err caution. And he also, I remember Robert, he spoke about when he traveled across this void. It was almost like a dark ocean he traveled across. And this is also something that was spoken about within the skull experiments in England during the seance experiments. And when they made contact with this being called Sharon S, it said that it came from a dimension of nothing, utter blackness. So again, we see this relation of this reality very, very close to ours in which they're feeding through from. And Robert had said that when you move fast across that darkness, you attract their attention and they'll latch on. You have to travel slowly through the void.
Wow. Eldon said, done deal. Melissa's showing pictures of donuts now. And Melissa's got a question for you, Barry. She said, how can one learn to lucid dream?
There are various different techniques. You know, there are books out there and advisories that can teach you how to lucid dream. It's not as difficult as what it seems. Initially, you know, it can seem daunting, but after a period of time, after a period of weeks, you can really start honing that ability down.
Yeah. And good night, Miss Amanda. Thank you for tuning in. And Shannon said, Drew had a Knights Templar on his show that was after my Holy Grail, but it's holy and was meant for good gods. Laughing out loud. All right. Well, I want to be the first to say, Barry, thank you so much. This has been an honor for me and Brian.
Yes, it has.
And thank you very much, lads, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And
I hope if it's at least one person out there learned something, then job well done. So, but let me get this last comment before I go into that. Guess there's no Krispy Kreme in the UK, huh, Drew? So sad for you if there isn't. You muted, Drew. You muted.
We got the Krispy Kreme donut stuff here. The shops are closed at 10 o'clock.
Appreciate it, Cody.
It's still making me jealous. Donuts are donuts. I bloody want a donut.
Thank you, Miss Sherry. She said, thank you so much, Barry and lads. Awesome show.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And please check out, like I said, Amazon. If you're very interested in what Barry has had to say tonight or what any of us have said, check out his book. I'm telling you, you'll learn a lot. And he said he's on Facebook. If you got a question for Barry, I'm sure he wouldn't mind you messaging. Just remember, he's a busy man. If he don't answer you right away, bear with him. He will get to it. And Shannon said, oh, my God, what a great show and a great flow. Thank you so much, Shannon. We appreciate that. Lucid donut dreaming.
I'm going to get him back.
Links in the room, guys. And Drew Donut Bert.
Ryan, see what I'm going to put up with? See what I'm going to put up with?
But we appreciate everybody being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Any questions y'all have for me or Brian, you know how to reach us. Anybody wants to be on the show, get up with me or get up with Drew, get up with Brian Laverty, Parapost. Any of us will get you on any of the shows you want to be on. Barry, I can't promise they're not going to be blowing your inbox up asking you to be on their show because it's probably coming. Glad I caught you guys. Thanks for coming on, Cece. I love you, girl. But as that last one there, love and light, guys, we appreciate it. And we're going to end this up. I'm going to put y'all in the back for just a minute, and I'll be right with y'all if y'all got time to hang out. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, sir.
Brian, what do you think, my friend? We got to talk to one of our legends, as we call him, the OG.
The icon.
That's right. But great show, man. But I'm going to end it out. And thank you, B, for helping me co-host the show and turning it into what it's become, man. I really appreciate it. And that's it, man. We're going to rock and roll. I'll catch you in a few.
Bye.